great to see you guys. Um, just trying to get my Facebook screen has changed from last time I saw it. Facebook loves to like change things to keep you confused and on your toes. So, jumping right in, today I'm going to be talking about inner peace and what that can look like in motherhood and how we can get there. So, um, when I hear inner peace, I always think of like some woo woo thing, but essentially, we can also think about this in terms of like being present. I know that for so many of us moms, being present with our kids is like the deep desire that we all want, and it's so hard to do sometimes. So, I'm sharing with you lots of tips today, and hopefully, today will flow pretty fast, but we'll see. Okay, so tip number one is write it all down. I shouldn't be clapping when I'm saying that because it's probably confusing. Write it all down. Make a list of everything that is bogging you down. And if this is a small booklet, that's okay. Write everything down, because what happens when things are in our heads is they spin and spin and spin, and they don't really make progress. There's no traction being made when it's all in our head. So you have to write it down to get it out of your head and get it into something sensible. So make that big list. Write things down. Now, you want to really dig in here. Put a star next to each item on that list that you can actually control. What I'm walking you through right now is a process that I actually have my clients do. Moms that work with me will often do this, and it's very, very helpful. And you're getting it for free right now. So put a star next to each item that you can actually control, and then leave it. Just leave it. Then write out any fears that you have in your head. And we'll talk more about fears in just a minute. But fears, write down any fears that are in your head. That's my dog. Put a star next to each fear-based item that you can actually control. Following me? We're starring things that we can actually control. And then once you have this big list, or maybe a book, you're going to let go of what you can't control. Now, the process of letting go of what you can't control is difficult. That is true. It is very difficult. But if you can enlist the help of whatever your higher overarching belief is, for me, I believe in a God, so I can hand over things to my God. Other people believe in like the power of the universe and universal love, and that we're all members of the universe. So if there's a higher belief, something bigger than yourself, like the collective motherhood of the world, sisters in motherhood, whatever it be, if there's something larger than yourself that you can turn over things to, that is going to be really helpful in letting go, because we have such a hard time letting go of things that we can't control because we want it to be okay. We want it to be taken care of. It's really hard to let go of whether or not the house next door gets bought by a family that we get along with, or by an annoying family like maybe the last family that lived there. This isn't my real experience, but these are just things that like I know that moms have talked to me about. So it's hard to let go of something like that if you don't trust the universe. So if you don't have trust in the universe, if you don't have any type of faith beyond yourself, it's really, really hard to let go of control. So wherever you are with your beliefs, spirituality, all the things, try to find something to tap in that helps you trust that when you let go, it's going to be okay. Like, you are not, the point of this is you are not the center of the universe. There is something else, or many things else, or we're all individualized and we're not connected. Whatever your belief, you are not the center of the universe, and you do not need to take on all of the responsibility. So let go of the things that you cannot control. And I'm happy to talk more about that. If you have questions, just let me know and we'll talk more about that. So, next part here is, am I afraid? And I mentioned this before, writing down your fears. If you're clinging to something that is outside your control, that you're having a hard time letting go of, it's probably on your fear list, or there is a fear associated with it. What can you identify around that fear? As an example, now I'm going to talk more about fear another time, but just to say briefly, what I mean by that is there something more? It's like, okay, if I use the example of, I'm afraid that my child isn't listening to me. I'm afraid that they're not listening to me. Well, why am I afraid that they're not listening to me? Well, I'm afraid that if they don't learn to listen, they're going to have trouble in school. Why am I afraid that they're going to have trouble in school? Well, I had trouble in school, and it impacted me in this way. And does my child have the same circumstance? Is their school the same as mine? So it's digging into the whys, like why? The same thing that our kids do all the time that drives us insane. Like, literally, that's what I'm saying. When you dig in, why? Don't just say, I can't do that because I'm afraid. Why are you afraid? Maybe you're afraid because it's unsafe. Like, why are you afraid to jump into the lion's den? Because you're logical and that makes sense. Like, you don't want to die. Good job. Go with that fear. But sometimes the fear is underneath. There are other things. For me personally, it often comes down to a fear of, I'm not good enough. Especially when I think, I'm afraid that someone's going to judge me. And it's like, I'm afraid that I'm not good enough on my own, and so I need other people to affirm me. So at this point in my life, like, thank God I don't deal with that really anymore. I mean, it comes up, but I recognize it, and I don't stress about it. It doesn't last. So that is all I'm going to say about fear for this week. And the next thing I want you to do is notice if anything on your list goes like, if only they would do this, then I would be happy. Because you probably know where I'm going with this. If I had you put a star next to everything you can control, you can't control other people. And we're going to talk more about this very specific point in depth at another time, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But you can't control other people. So if something on your list says, if only they would do this, then I would be happy. Ask yourself, why are you giving them that power over you? Because you can't control them, so why are you letting them control you? And again, we're going to break that down a lot more in another week. But that's the next part of writing it down. And so now I'm coming up on our last point here. This is the number one mistake that parents make when trying to do this work. And I've talked to so many moms. Don't beat yourself up if you do this. But when you start doing this, this is what I don't want you to fall into this trap, which is why I'm telling you now. You cannot control your kids. We have these messages from society that as moms, we're supposed to keep everything running. We're in charge of it all. We are a good mom if our child does well and is successful. We're a bad mom if they're not. All of these things feed into this lie, this untruth about controlling our children, because you really cannot control your kids. You can't control their behavior, you can't control their attitude, you can't control their feelings, how grateful they are. You can't control any of those things. You can't control what they eat. You cannot control your children. And you are responsible for your children. So it's kind of like if you have, it's not really like, but you can think about it, the analogy of if you have a job and you are a team leader, but you are not the boss over anyone, but that's not the situation you have. Like if you're a boss, you can't make someone work harder. You can't make someone love their job, but you can provide the environment. You can provide the safety and the consistency so that they know what to expect. You can create a safe space for them so that they can feel confident coming to you. And I think it's really important to point out these nuance and subtleties, because we can definitely contribute to our children's behavior. We can influence our children. That is true. But ultimately, we don't get to control what they do with the environment that we have set up for them. We can do it all right. We can have the safe space. We can have everything going well. And they can have a temper tantrum, and it is not because you did anything wrong. It is because they are having a bad day. And so one thing that I hear some parents say is like, I just want my kids to be happy. And my own mother says that to me. And I used to say that about my kids. I just want them to be happy. And I don't say that anymore, because what does that mean? What is that saying? That's saying that everything that isn't happiness, or the other one that I hear is, I want my kids to be successful. Why do you want them to be successful? What does success look like? And it's this, usually when people say that, they're referring to like a financial stability, because they don't want their children to have that stress. Maybe they had stress over financial instability growing up, and they don't want their children to have that. So all of these things are great. It's great that you want that for your child. It's great that you want a good life for them. But what I want for my children, and this is where you have to get clear with you and your partner, what is it that you really want for your children? For me, I want emotional resiliency, and I want them to be flexible in life, and I do want them to be successful on my terms, but I ultimately can't control that. I can provide them with the resources. I can sit with them and be with them when they fail and let them know that I love them. I can provide the nourishment that they need to get through a day. I can show them what these different foods are like. I can introduce them to different foods. I can do all sorts of techniques with them. And at the end of the day, I don't get to choose how they respond to it. And I think that is the biggest piece that a lot of parents miss, because we have this idea of we can control our kids, and you really can't. So parenting is like, you decide what is important to you, what is your priority, and what is valuable to you, and you make plans and make decisions based on that. And then there has to be some level of detachment of the outcome, because you really can't control how they receive it. And if you stress and stress about trying to control how your child is going to respond, then you're just going to run yourself ragged, and it's not going to be good. So that's it. So I want you to actually dig into this. This is not like you're going to do this and then you're going to find inner peace. This is like This is an early method here. And like I said, fears we're going to talk more about another time, and other people being on your list, we're going to talk more about another time. But what I want to emphasize with you guys is don't make the mistake of putting a star next to your kid's behavior. You can put a star next to the food that you serve. You could put a star next to consistency at bedtime. You can control things that influence your children and contribute to their behavior, but you ultimately cannot control what they do with that. So that's all I've got for now, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.